Major development report in the war in Ukraine. Russia says it is now withdrawing from a key Ukrainian city. And here to give us his perspective on this important development, Brad Bowman. He's the Senior Director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Brad, it's always nice to talk to you. Russia's defense minister has ordered the withdrawal of Russian troops from the west bank of the Dnipro River in Kherson. That as Ukrainian forces are advancing on the city. He's not leaving because he thinks things are fine there. He's leaving, it sounds like, to try and get his folks out before something really bad happens.
I think that's exactly right. I think, well, we know that for some weeks now, there's been a debate apparently behind the scenes between the leadership of the Russian military and Putin regarding trying to get his thumbs up, if you will, to withdraw the forces on the west bank of the Dnieper River in the Kherson area. The goal there for the Russian military was to avoid the disaster that they saw in the panicked pell-mell retreat around Kharkiv. They didn't want a replay of that. And to avoid a replay of that, they needed time to move command posts, heavy equipment, heavy weapons off from the west side of the river to the east side of the river. That takes time, and we've seen that being undertaken for the last few weeks. But we finally saw the kind of this explicit approval from the Minister of Defense and the top general, which of course would not have happened without Putin's approval. But let's be clear. I mean, this is a big and positive deal for Kyiv. This is the only regional capital to fall to invading forces since February. You know, Putin had hoped that success there would have helped enable an assault potentially on Odessa. It's a capital of one of the 4 regions that Putin claimed to annex in late September. It's a vital Black Sea port, and it's also the gateway to Crimea. So this is very good news for Kyiv, but they're being cautious, as you'd expect them to. They don't want to be lured into tough urban fighting, and they're more interested in reality on the ground than staged pronouncements from Moscow.
There are strategic retreats because it's in your best defensive effort to do that, or because you're getting your butt kicked, one of the two. Which of these is this, or is it maybe a combination of both?
I think it's both. You know, I think if they had tried, basically by doing this, the Russians are turning the Dnieper River from a problem to an asset, if you will, right? A problem in that they had their forces on the west side that were increasingly under attack and within range of artillery fire, and were in danger because of the long-range strikes on command posts, logistics, and supply nodes. It was more and more difficult, as the Russian general said, to resupply those forces. And so Ukraine put them on the horns of a dilemma and essentially forced them to retreat. So now the Dnieper River, once that retreat is completed, if in fact that's what happens, it becomes really more of an asset for Russia, and that it becomes a major natural barrier that can be used to try to stop the Ukrainian counteroffensive at that point.
Brad, we hear a lot about winter in Ukraine and the difficulties that poses for, just getting around, much less conducting a military campaign. Is this in some respects, maybe the end of the beginning, waiting for winter, and then we'll see what happens on the other side, whether it be a continued war or maybe someone suing for peace?
It's a great question. Much is made of mud and rain and these sorts of things. It's almost a cottage industry for some. I mean, the bottom line is you have rain, which combined with dirt makes mud. Mud favors the defense, so it helped Ukraine in the early weeks and months of the war. As Ukraine counterattacks, mud becomes the assets of defending Russian forces. It also depends on how soon the ground freezes. It also depends on how much infrastructure you have. And so if you don't have a lot of roads and infrastructure and you're off-road more around like the Kherson region where there are a lot of open fields with irrigation canals, then mud is relevant. But, winter is not a new thing. Winter is coming and the ground will freeze at some point and the correlation of forces will change. But it's important, in Luhansk and Donetsk, in 1 minute, you have Ukrainians defending, and the next minute they're counterattacking, and vice versa with the Russians. So, sun, moon, stars, rain, weather, these affect both sides when you're talking about ground warfare. And I think it's easy to overplay the significance on one side or the other.
Does it buy, though, the Russians some time and perhaps Vladimir Putin to make a decision on what he wants to do. Is he going to be able to continue prosecuting this war, or is it a good time to suddenly say, okay, we've done what we intended to do now and it's time to have peace talks? Because that doesn't necessarily mean that there will be peace.
I hope Putin engages in good faith talks yesterday, but I see no signs of that. I think the only thing that will push him in that direction is Ukrainian power and success on the battlefield. That's why I've taken the position I have in supporting them. What I do fear is that, this is a major embarrassment for Vladimir Putin. I don't think there's any other way to view it. And when we've seen things like this in the past, we've seen him feel a need to lash out at Ukrainian civilians and civilian infrastructure. So I do fear that in the coming days and weeks, to try to cover up this loss, this strategic loss, I would say, that we may see more attacks on Ukrainian cities, Ukrainian civilian infrastructure and civilians, which has been deplorable and horrific, which will underscore conversations about air and missile defense for Ukraine.
If it's giving Vladimir Putin an opportunity to sort of reassess, let's make an assessment of our own here on what has happened since February and all this started. I'm not sure that anybody in this country was willing to go out on a limb and say, man, wait till we get to November, you won't believe what the Ukrainian forces were able to do. It was a surprise then. It continues, I think, to be a surprise now. Would you agree?
I'd agree. I had the opportunity to do a podcast a month or two back with former Ambassador Eric Edelman and Lieutenant General retired Ben Hodges, and we talked about this, how so many of us got some things right and we got some things wrong. And I think where many of us got things wrong is we looked at numbers of tanks and aircraft and artillery pieces, but we ignored or didn't give sufficient attention to some of the other less tangible things, like morale, like the determination of a free people to defend their homes against an unprovoked invasion. I said that in the early days, but I would underscore that even more now with the benefit of hindsight, and that's a positive lesson for those of us that are fans of democracy. And I'm hopeful that Beijing is taking notes that free people tend to not like authoritarian aggression that seeks to extinguish their right to choose their own government.
As they may be looking eastward toward Taiwan at that point. Brad Bowman, and he was right then and he continues to be right now. He's the senior director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, and that's why we like to talk with him on opportunities such as this. Many thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Take a break. Coming up on what promises to be a pretty nice afternoon, even nicer day tomorrow. That Friday, though, is the issue here. Brian's got your forecast when we return.